Good Morning Comicsgate is a show that I was on this morning, and I talked about the situation that happened with any crowdfund, but I'm not going to talk about that here. I've already said everything I needed to. I'm instead going to talk about something else that was discussed while I was on the show, which is my post I made several months ago talking about not wanting to be associated with Comicsgate anymore. And I said a little bit on the show, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to answer that question that people were asking in the chat of Katy's chat, and it's because I was on my lunch break at work and I didn't really have much time. But here I want to make a video just to fully address it and how my thoughts have changed and why my thoughts have changed. And I made a post several months ago at this point, probably maybe 3 months ago, maybe four, about basically not wanting to be associated with Comicsgate as far as the name, right? I want to be associated with the creators because there's a lot of great creators, and I never said anything bad about the creators or the good people in the movement. But what I said was that the movement had a lot of baggage, right? And that still, I think still is accurate, that this movement does carry a lot of negativity with it, but it also carries a lot of positivity. And I want to talk about both. The main negative aspects of it that I had mentioned was the Liam controversy that started up a few months ago, where he had struck Katy's channel, and YouTube wasn't really doing anything about it. The broader internet was getting introduced to Liam because of this, and were basically exposing the worst part of Comicsgate, or at least one of the worst parts of Comicsgate, to the internet. And everyone, from what I was thinking, was only getting introduced to the negativity. And it was just one more aspect of the community that was making it hard for me to want to be associated with it. Because ultimately, if you associate yourself with Comicsgate, there's going to be a lot of people who will say, you're just like all the others. You're part of, like, you're this far right group of racists and homophobes and incels because they don't know what the word incel means, and all this stuff gets roped in. And those people are wrong. Those people are, I think, often intentionally wrong, and will not change their opinions because they have already made up their minds about you, right? But there is a group of people that were introduced to Comicsgate not just because of Liam, but they were introduced because people were talking about him. They had to talk about Katy, who's the victim in this whole thing, having her channel struck and removed. They had to talk about her, and to talk about her, they had to talk about what content she makes, which is, of course, content about Comicsgate, different creators, different comics, promotions, and all that kind of stuff for all these different comics in the space. And because of that, they're not just getting introduced to Liam, they're getting introduced to the broader concept of it. And I'm sure that there might not be a way to measure it exactly, but I'm sure that there's been quite a bit of people who were introduced to Comicsgate from that and have since followed the movement. Maybe they're not creators in the movement, or maybe they're not frequent backers in the movement, but they are at least following it, right? There's a lot of people who I feel have been introduced to this and seen the worst and stuck around to continue to watch Liam get worse and worse, but because of that are introduced to the broader scope of Comicsgate. So that's an error of my judgment. That's an error of me thinking all gloom and doom and not realizing that there's still quite a bit of positives about what happened with this. The other reason why I didn't want to be associated, why I said that, was also because there are a lot of creators, big creators, who are very late on their campaigns and have not delivered them in years in some cases. And while that's, everyone talks about that, it's a tired talking point, but it is true. And if you if you belong to the group Comicsgate, you are going to also have to carry around that baggage that people have had disgruntled customers who have not received their comics and want refunds and stuff like that. And some people will never get them. And that's something that you have to carry. That's an objective truth. That's something that's going to be following you as a creator if you belong to this movement. Now, not everyone views Comicsgate as this all-encompassing thing that everyone is like this. Those people are wrong. Those people are judging the book by its cover. and they don't do research into it, and they're probably not going to ever do research into it or change their minds at all. But you can be like me and change your mind simply by looking at the situation from another perspective. And that's what I've done this past few months. I've started sort of slowly warming up to the idea of denouncing that post, but I part of me wanted to not do it because I don't like to go back on promises. I don't like to go back on statements unless I'm proven absolutely wrong. And if there's fault to be admitted, I will admit fault, as I've admitted fault many times in this most recent drama, to where I have failed and could have done better. But I'll also stand on where I'm right. And some aspects of it, like I've said already, I still believe is the case. I still believe there is some baggage that you go in for saying you belong to Comicsgate. But there's also a lot of positives that come with it, such as the quality of the comics, the sense of community. That, yes, sure, there's drama. There's always some people arguing. As long as there's two people in the community, that two people are going to be beefing with each other. But there is also the positiveness. There is the fact that people can make whatever comic they want to make, and be independent and not have to listen to a board of directors or stock owners or just the higher ups at like Marvel, DC, Image, or Dark Horse, whatever. You have the freedom to make the comic you want, and for some people, that for me, that's like, I'm making something that's all ages, that's not politically charged. For some people, that is something that's politically charged, like Knights of the Bad Moon, and there's and the opposite, or maybe not the opposite, but maybe somewhere just, it's a totally different thing in Panzer Girl, right? It's free speech ultimately at the end of the day is what it broadly is. So you have the ability to make whatever comic you want here, and people are going to see that, and they're going to see some creative stuff, and they're going to say, wow, this is a talented group of people that I can directly support, as opposed to funding, Marvel, which is funding Disney, which is funding a bunch of evil people who eat babies over on Epstein Island. But anyways, that might have just got this video nuked. But but the point of what I'm saying is that with the negative, there also comes positive, and I have never seen the positive more than when Katy had her channel struck. Everyone came out in support of her. And the few that didn't were very few and far between. There was very little people that were not on Katy's side in this situation. The sense of unity in the community, I think, had never been higher than I've seen personally. Maybe there was something before this, but for me personally, that was the highest I had ever seen everyone come together. And a similar thing was felt personally by me during this whole drama with Indie Crowdfund that I went through last weekend. I've come out of this experience feeling like I'm actually better off because of it, not just because of learning from mistakes and learning not to. For me personally, Indie Crowdfund is not for me, but also exposing the behavior, right? The behavior of the Wheelers, and it kind of exposed where their allegiances really lie. They are anti-Comicsgate. They don't like us, and because of that, I feel like at the end of the day, if I had to be dragged through the mud a little bit to make the community better, I think that it was slightly better than it was before, then I'm happy to have gone through that. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think I'm that important, but apparently the community really rallied around me, and I appreciate that so much. And that has been the final push that has made me say, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong to make that statement on Twitter about not wanting to be associated. I feel like now, looking back on it, hindsight's 20/20, but looking back on it, I feel like that was a very cowardly thing to do. And I think people like Young Ripa, who have been saying fair weather, I think that's true. I think that's something that I failed in. I think that's something that I should, in a time where I should have been more supportive and defensive of Comicsgate. I feel like I flaked, and that's something that I don't intend on doing again. I've come, you're always in a learning process in life, not just in this situation, but I'm always learning. I'm always trying to to learn and grow and increase in wisdom. And this whole situation has been very wisdom enlightening for me. I feel like I've become a better person throughout this, and I want to assure you that bar any kind of massive Epstein-like activities that get exposed in Comicsgate, right? If Liam's folder is true and every single creator is just a pedo in this community, unless something like that happens, I am part of Comicsgate and I am here to stay. So I just want to put this video out there to just really emphasize that point that I didn't get to talk about much in Katy's stream, and I want to in some way, I guess, in some perspective, redeem myself to those who look at me as someone who's flaky and stuff, and I'll admit where I've done wrong. I'll admit wherever I made the wrong stance. I wasn't the only person who was making that kind of post, right? There was some other creators who have distanced themselves from Comicsgate and haven't been doing as much collaboration with creators and stuff like that. But I want to get back into it. I want to get on other people's streams and talk about comics and stuff happening in the community. Like, I want to be more involved and stuff like that. Like, I want to be part of it again. I feel like I've missed that, especially with the Indie Comics Empire streams with One Gun and Andrew Rowland, Zever, N2 Paints, just all those guys. I miss doing those streams. It kept me motivated to do art, and outside of it, I fell into a little bit of an art block. But I have never been more motivated to draw, especially for Lock-In, than I have this past weekend. This whole event has motivated me more than anything the past few months. So being part of a community will encourage you to continue to be part of that community, right? To continue to do things to make it better. And I want to make Comicsgate better by having an all ages type of comic book series, not just Little Miss Steel, but Lock-In. I want to also be something that people of Comicsgate can not have to worry about showing their kids. There's not gigantic boobs being shown on every single page. You know what I mean? There's not swearing in it, if that's a problem. I know it's not not a problem for a lot of people, but for some people it is. For some people who are more conservative, they don't like all the swearing in media these days, and that's something that my comic. I don't do swearing. I don't do extreme violence like graphic blood or anything like that. I don't do anything too skimpy as far as outfits, right? So you can have, like, you as a parent can have that, and in Comicsgate there doesn't really exist that, from what I've seen, or at least there's not a lot of it, and I want to provide that. I want to do something like that. So I want to take on that niche in the niche already that is Comicsgate. So. But thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate everything all the nice things that you guys have said, and just and have had my back throughout this entire thing. It reminds me, like I said, it reminds me that this community is good, and despite the negatives, there is far more positive, I believe, in this community. Far more creativity to be had and collaborations to be done. One Gun's doing a drawing for me. I got to do a drawing for him whenever it's time for his art book to come out. I got to do something. I got to draw one of his characters or something. I want to draw other people's characters. Like I think Andrew Rowland and me are going to do an art trade of our characters at some point. I think that would be fun. And I've already done a collaboration with Zever Comics with Ryan Dubé with his Nephilim. I did a little mini one-page comic that you can check out on his website right now. And yeah, I want to do stuff like that. I want to be more part of the community again. So I hope you guys understand. I hope you guys can forgive me. I hope you guys can understand where I've come from and why I made that post and how I've come to realize that I am wrong. So I'm not against admitting where I'm wrong. I will be wrong multiple times in the future. It's human nature. None of us are perfect. So, but yeah, I just appreciate you guys so much. So thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my videos recently. More art is coming. More, Little Miss Steel is coming. Lock-In campaign is coming very soon. I'm finishing up basically all the art I want to showcase to show what this comic will be. if it gets funded. And I'm very close to doing that, and different merchandise and stuff to go with it. I'm talking with people about that in preparation for starting the campaign. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more Little Miss Steel and more streams. I want to do more streams. So thanks for watching. Till next time. Peace out.